and welcome to the Not Your Type podcast, aimed to uplift and empower everyone in the diabetic community, from supporters to professionals, and of course, those living with it. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Not Your Type podcast. I'm your host, Miss Iowa 2023, Alyssa Gothi, and this is a very special episode because today is not only a Type 1 Tuesday when I normally post these episodes, but it is my 12-year Diaversary. In the diabetes community, we commemorate the day that we were diagnosed as our Diaversary, combining the word diagnosis and anniversary. And August 22nd, 2011 is my Diaversary. How fortunate and coincidental is it that my Diaversary happens to coincide with a Type 1 Tuesday, the year that I am Miss Iowa. It is very bittersweet, and this episode is going to be very unorganized, to say the least. I have no outline in place. I want to be as transparent and honest as possible because for many diabetics, a Diaversary is a monumental day in their diabetes journey, whether it is a positive or negative feeling attached to it. And for me, it's a little bit of both. I feel like the day I was diagnosed with diabetes was a day where I was almost reborn and was a day where I became the person I was meant to be. But at the same time, it is such a traumatic experience to have your life flip in an instant. So I want to just go through a little bit of my self-discovery and self-reflection on this year, because while some people celebrate with anniversary cake and treats and others tend to feel remorseful, this year I am choosing reflection and pride. When I look back on my diagnosis, there are a lot of emotions that come to mind, and even thinking about it makes me emotional right now because I was only 11 years old and I had to face things that even 23-year-old me would probably never have to experience. I was so unbelievably frightened that the life I wanted to live was not possible anymore. I came into the doctor's office thinking I would be sent home with medicine for a stomach bug, and left a completely changed person who had to depart from the general practices and daily life she was living before. There's a picture of me that I often post on my social media of me in the hospital with a stuffed animal, and I have this big smile on my face. It was pre-braces, so my teeth weren't the best, but I had this big smile. And I looked very cheerful for someone in the hospital. You probably would never have guessed it was taken in a hospital bed. But behind that smile was not a cheerful 11-year-old middle schooler. It was a terrified little girl who had no idea what she was getting into. The second or third day I was in the hospital and was getting trained on everything, I remember feeling more confident. I could do the shots myself. I felt like I had more of a grasp on it. And honestly, probably thought I knew everything because all middle schoolers feel that way. Trust me, my students definitely did. But I distinctly remember the car ride home when my mom was taking me back, and I cried in the car away from the safe haven of the hospital, from the safety and knowledge of the nurses and doctors who were taking care of me, knowing that I had to now do this myself. And that is a huge burden that an 11-year-old has to bear. To be fully in charge of your body 24/7 to try and survive. Something I also vividly remember, however, in that car ride, I was a middle schooler who was obsessed with magazines at the time. This was before I had a smartphone. I don't even think smartphones were as widely popular as they are now. But my mom had picked up a magazine on our way to the hospital, and for some reason, I didn't read it there, probably because I was scared and trying to prepare myself for a 3-day hospital stay. But on the way back, I decided to read it, and something miraculous happened. And that was an article in the magazine that had an excerpt from Chicken Soup for the Soul for Kids. And in that article was a young girl who was just diagnosed with diabetes. And I remember I asked my mom, "Did you purposely pick this one out? Did you see that there's this story in here?" And she said no. And that's really when I realized that diabetes was put in my path for a reason. Despite how afraid I was in the hospital, on day 2, I had turned to my mom and said, I don't want other people to feel this way. I want to help people. And when I read that article in the magazine, that's when I realized that I had uniquely found my purpose in life, and that was to help others afflicted with diabetes. And I get emotional talking about it. I'm not trying to get emotional on the podcast here, but when I look back, little 11-year-old me knew that this was put in my path for a reason and knew that I needed to help people. And while I didn't know how I was going to do that, to see how it has transformed into such a big part of my life and to see the people that I have impacted, it makes me want to go back in time and hug little me and tell her that she is exactly right, that she will find the ways to make a difference, and that she will get to lead the life that she has always dreamed of. So if you are listening and you have yet to celebrate a Diaversary, or you are about to celebrate one or have celebrated one, wherever you are at in your diabetes journey, take those days to reflect. Cry it out if you need to, like I'm doing right now, but also appreciate just how far you've come, because diabetes can be a huge roadblock in your life and can stop you in your tracks if you let it. But I believe that we are given this opportunity to not only better ourselves, but to better our communities, the diabetes community, to educate people and to ultimately serve others and show how strong we are, because we are the strongest people I know. So if you're listening and you are impacted by diabetes or love someone who is, just know that I am proud of you, and I'm thinking of you and carrying you with me as I celebrate my 12-year Diaversary, and cannot wait for a day when we no longer have to celebrate these. So thank you for listening to my short but sweet special episode that was full of tears and putting up with crying on the podcast. I hate listening to people cry, so thank you for bearing with me if you are still here. I have plenty more exciting updates and episodes coming. Next week I will post another one, so you won't have to wait 2 weeks. And it's a special one with my brother, so you will surely be in for a treat. But until next time,